Mike Norvell has reversed stance and has made recruiting high school players a priority. Is it too little, too late? And can they get the quarterback they need for the future?
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Back into Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making Locked On Seminoles a part of your day, each and every day, right here on the nation's #1 podcasting network, Locked On. Today, we're going to be discussing quarterback recruiting, as Derrick Baker is a primary focus for the Seminoles coaching staff. Who are the Noles getting if they do land him, and they are the favorite compared to other teams and who they're going after? We're going to discuss how important it is to find your quarterback early in the recruiting cycle. We're also going to talk about Norvell's last stand. Part of that being Derrick Baker and other quarterbacks he looks at. That's going to be part of the grade this next offseason as Norvell tries to keep his job beyond 2026. But to start off, I want to talk about the junior day in general. And if you take nothing else from this podcast, note the following. I have, and many others have taken shots at Norvell because he hasn't done a good enough job recruiting high school players. That's not a newsflash. But this is a very good group that they brought in this weekend. And if they do this moving forward, it's certainly going to improve the class, not just long-term for Florida State in the class of 27, but like the trend. You have to set the example in January with junior days, followed up in February, in March. There is never an end to it. Florida State had a good group this weekend, and they should be applauded. So let's talk a little bit about some of the guys that they've had in this weekend. I'll get to Derrick Baker in a moment, but I want to talk about some of the running backs and some of the other players that had made the trip. And to be honest, with all the weather that's going on, I'm surprised Florida State had as many kids in as they did. The guy that I'm most excited about from watching film and for what I've heard about him and for being at the high school before is Nigel Newkirk. This is a running back. He was at Ola High School. He's at Gainesville now. Really good football player. He's shot out of a cannon. He's roughly 195 pounds, I would guess, by looking at him on film. I don't know exactly, but he's right in that range. He may be up to 200 pounds, depends on which site you look at. But there is one thing that I know. Playing in the greater Atlanta area, he's running away from players. I don't really need to know a whole lot more than that because the programs he's around are very, very good. So he makes guys miss. He can hit the hole with one step. He hits that gear, and he's gone. I don't know why, but he's ranked only a 3-star in some of the networks. Some of the guys may not have seen him yet live. That's fine. But once his film circulates, this will be a top 10 running back nationally. And if Florida State only signed one player in the class of 2027 at running back, and it was Nigel Newkirk, major thumbs up. Elite player. I don't care what the ranking is. The film speaks for itself. And the kid has a passion about the way he plays, the way he catches the football, the way he makes guys miss. He will run over you. And again, there is no substitute for sheer speed. It's something Bobby Bowden used to talk about. And to be honest, most great coaches and owners, Al Davis of the Raiders used to talk about speed all the time in the 60s and 70s. It has never changed. He outruns guys in Atlanta. That's good enough for me. I would take him in a heartbeat, and Florida State's all over him. He had a great visit to Florida State, according to Noles 24/7 and multiple outlets. I think this is the kind of guy that would excel also in Gus's offense because even though he's a speed guy, between the tackles, Newkirk's vision is really good, and he'll grind out those difficult 3-yard runs that you got to have. I love that kid. If they get him, there's nothing wrong with that. They also had Javaris Warner on campus. He's a kid that's not that far from me. I'm in Auburn right now, getting ready to move down to Gulf Shores, and this kid, Tripp County, is just right over the border. Javaris Warner is committed to Cincinnati. Will that stick? I don't know. Kids from Georgia going up north, you can never tell. But he's different in terms of his style of play. Speed, he's not the biggest guy, $170, $180, but he makes guys miss. And I can tell you what, if you're going to be a player that's going to play in space and move around in today's game, you're in the right era. Warner is that player. He can make players miss in space, so you can run screens with him. Obviously, that fits Gus's offense. You can run option with him. You could use him on jet sweeps. Florida State's still recruiting him. They were in on him originally. I would not be surprised at all if Florida State tried to take 2 backs, and if they got the 2 guys I've talked about today, their running back recruiting would be outstanding. Now, speaking of outstanding, offensive line has been something that we've talked about more times than I can possibly count for Florida State, and not in the most positive way. Well, just by accident last year, I saw Phoenix City Central play a game down in Orlando, and I knew they had players. That's automatic. It's in the program Cam Coleman's from, etc. Alabama, Georgia, Auburn, everybody goes to this program every year to recruit. They had a big kid on the offensive line. I'm like, who in the world is that guy? He looks like he's 25 years old. He's massive. Look him up on the depth chart. He's only a junior. He's 300 plus pounds, and he can play tackle. He can play guard. Doesn't matter. His name is Jatori Williams, but he was committed to Bama at the time. Well, he has decommitted. After seeing him live, I completely understand why Alabama and the like have offered this young man a scholarship. He's got a ways to go in terms of figuring out technique, but that's no big deal. Underclassmen, offensive linemen, and technique don't usually hang out much. But if he gets his hand on you, it's Katie bar the door. Insanely strong, big-bodied, bulky, strong, and he can move laterally. Like most kids built like Jatori, they're going to play inside. And I think he would probably be best at guard, but he could absolutely play right tackle. And if he continues to develop, again, technique is everything. It's not out of the question that with his athleticism and strength, he could possibly be a left tackle. He was on campus. He had a good visit to Florida State. All you can do is get guys on campus right now and pitch, hey, you can come and play. And out of all the schools recruiting him that are quote unquote major names, nobody has more immediate playing time available than the Noles. It's not even a question. This would be a coup. Auburn, Georgia, Florida, you name it, he's going to have the offer. Elite prospect. Out of everybody that visited this weekend, you said, Brian, you can only take one guy. It's not even in question. It would be Jatori. The position, the need, and just I've seen him live. That's a dude. I don't know exactly where he's going to play on the offensive line, but who cares? He's a national recruit for a reason. He's over 300 pounds. He's 6'4", I would guess, looking at him, the eye test. He's listed at 6'5", but whatever. He's a big kid. He would absolutely play early for Florida State. He plans to take an OB. I think Florida State's in the hunt here. Look out if they can get a kid like that, because maybe that would open the door. Again, national top 100 kind of kid, in my opinion, for whatever it's worth. 24/7 has him at 104, so that kind of puts it in perspective. They also had Kyson Mallard on campus. I have not seen him and paid attention. I probably saw him at Under Armour, didn't even know it. He's at Westover High School in Albany, Georgia. That's a program. It's always had players almost identical size to Jatori. Florida State had him on campus, and it's a school that he's very high on. Herb Hand's a good recruiter. I'm not surprised. Now he has an opportunity again to look at Florida State, kind of like some of these other guys. I can play early there. Do I want to be a part of that change? Norvell certainly needs it to be. They still rely too much on the portal with offensive linemen, but this is another guy that's a national recruit. Georgia was a program he was committed to already. They had a really good visit with him. Maybe they can be that team. But again, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, you name the program down south, they've offered him. So Mallard's a kid to remember, and Florida State needs, no doubt about it, they need offensive linemen in that group. So let's see if they can get it done. Just looking at a few other notes. They had Tremont Collins. This is a kid that I was actually watching his film yesterday. It's kind of ironic. He was on campus this weekend. He's from an itty-bitty school in the Panhandle called Cottondale. He could play safety. He could play corner. That was my first notion when I saw his length and everything, seeing him on film. But he was probably going to end up playing wide receiver. Again, it's not a lock. He's at like a 2A school, 1A school up in the Panhandle called Cottondale. Hard to say. He was originally committed to UF. He had a good visit to Florida State. I just think of this kid, and I just think about Bobby Bowden's rise to Florida State in the 80s. These are the kind of kids that he got. Small schools in Georgia, Florida, Alabama. You're like, where's that at? You have to look it up on the map. And then they end up 2 years later being like all conference or making a touchdown at the last moment to win a game against a team like Florida or Miami or something. He took chances on athletes and coached them up. Collins is one of those guys on his film. If you want some fun, Tremont is Tramond, Collins. Go look up his huddle film. He is legit. They also had some kids on campus from all over the place, smaller schools. And they had kids down in South Florida. I haven't seen as much yet. I'll talk about them as I see them more, but I just wanted to talk about some of the kids that I've seen myself. today and then kind of go from there. I like the personal evals first. I'll talk to Ivans and different people about some of these kids, but wanted to give my overall take. And again, I really like the kids that they had in, the ones that I'd seen and the guys they're prioritizing. This is a good job. I'll hammer it if it's not right. I'll tell you the truth if it is right too. This is a good list, and they had some really important players on campus. But again, Jatori's the guy. If I could only pick one, I'd take the big fella out of Phoenix City Central. You just can't find enough offensive linemen like him. He's barring something unforeseen, he's probably going to play in the National Football League. He's a rare specimen. When we come back, I want to combine Norvell in terms of the long term. Winning and recruiting is something I talked about a lot. Can he make this effort this weekend consistent through and use that as a pitch to everybody, the administration, the boosters, the fans, for next year and then beyond to stay in Tallahassee? We're going to talk about that next right here on Locked On Seminoles. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in all the action before the NFL season is officially over. That's what we got coming up. It is Super Bowl Sunday coming up, Super Bowl 60, in fact. FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the entire year. Doesn't matter if you want to bet on the first quarter, the first score, the quarterback with the most yards, the running back that scores the game-winning touchdown, whatever it may be. You can do same-game parlay or anything else. The predictions, the plays, anything you want to do, the stats, all of that, that's up to you. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff until the final whistle when the game is over. If you're a newcomer, just bet $5. Get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles a part of your day each and every day right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Take your game to the next level with the Everydayer Club. All you have to do is play $5 each and every month or $50 for the year. All your ads on audio are free. Plus, we have a Discord. Check out the link down below in the description. It'll give you more details. But national board, you can think about anything you want to check out, meet new people, talking college football. We've got that. But to me, by far the most important thing, take your audio on the go for free in terms of the ads for your ears. $5 a month or $50 a year. It's a good deal. Check out the Locked On Everydayer Club. So let's talk about Norvell in terms of his job security. It's something we talk about all the time here on Locked On Seminoles. Here's the deal. It's one thing to win some games this next year, but I think we all know this isn't a national title team. If he is going to pitch to myself, media members, boosters, fans, whatever it may be, that the Florida State Seminoles football program is headed in the right direction, it's more than just winning some games. Maybe they upset Bama again, but do we really think they're going to be dominant next year? No. He's going to need something else, and that most likely is going to involve recruiting. I already gave him his flowers this past segment for having a good group, and some of the kids they had in, I knew a lot about. A few I'd seen personally, and these are dudes. A few I've seen on film as well. These are dudes. This is a good group. This is a good start, especially, again, with all the weather being crazy this week in America. I was impressed. So here's my question for fans. If Florida State has a top 10 class this year, just hypothetically, all but locked up, let's say November 15th, they've got the number 8 class, just something like that. They've got 22 commitments. They beat out Miami and Georgia and Ole Miss and some of these different schools for kids from Georgia, Alabama, Florida. Do you think that will really hold much weight in helping Norvell keep his job if they're, let's say, 6-6, 7-5 this year? If they're below 500, I don't think it matters, personally. And that's my fear, but hear me out. If they're 500 or above, there's a top 10 class that's about to sign, get Norvell over the finish line and give him more time. What say you? I think it's an intriguing debate because there are a lot of different ways you can look at it. That's, that you can say, well, Brian, or to the administration, if you're a booster or a fan, it's going to take too long for most recruits, which is probably true, to really hit home. He should have done this before. I've said that. Many have. But when it's really close and you don't, let's be honest, they don't want to pay the buyout. That's not a newsflash. It still would be in the 40 million, 40 plus million. I don't know what the total will be, but it'll be over $40 million, even at the end of next year, which is horrific. So does it matter more with that? I think it does. What say you? Again, if they have a top 10 class and the way they've started, it's possible. They barely were outside the top 10 this last year, and they stunk for the second year in a row. So as you know, I constantly say the following. It is not hard to sell Florida State. He's put in more effort. I can tell that just by who's coming to campus, and he's been out on the road more. There's an article or two about him out on the road. I haven't even delved into that. I want to know who's on campus. That's more important to me, but that's just my take. But it still shows his effort. So last time, do you think a top 10 class, like, 6 to 8, if he has a top 3, I think that's obvious. So like a number 6, number 8, number 10 class, headed into the last couple of weeks of the season, with signing day always being the first Wednesday in December, does that give Norvell enough ammunition with the team that finishes 500 or better to return in 2027? Something to think about. When we come back, I want to talk about Derrick Baker, how he's not just involved with that possible top 10 class, but why a commitment from him, especially with who he's connected to, hint Cam Newton, could change recruiting for Florida State. That is next, right here on Locked on Seminoles. Today's show is brought to you by Mazda, moving the game forward. This is Mazda's opportunity for show those who know there's more to the score than what's on the screen. Look at it this way. Florida State historically, since we're going to talk about quarterbacks, Charlie Ward was absolutely incredible. He changed my opinion of football, how it's played. And many of you, Knowles, probably feel the same. Chris Winkie, obviously Jameis Winston. They have went through a long list of guys. Jordan Travis here recently changed the Florida State program. And if you have the right quarterback making the right highlights, it's just awesome. And it's the way you do it. It's the work you put into it, the craftsmanship of that, because the journey to become a great quarterback is not easy, nor is it easy to be a great car manufacturer. Mazda puts in the same passion into every model. Highlights make the real. What it took to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there is more to you. All right, let's talk a little bit about Derrick Baker. Who is he? Why would Florida State want him? Why is he a fit or not? I've had the pleasure of seeing him multiple times. I saw him at Under Armour last year. I'm not kidding when I say the following. I'd heard he was big, but when he walked out onto the field, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. He looks like a professional MMA fighter. He was like 15 years old. I'm not exaggerating. Like 6'2", 220, and just muscle on muscle. Just one of those kids, just genetically gifted. God blessed him a little bit differently. He could throw it, he had the arm and all that stuff, but it's the Under Armour camp. There's only so much you can do because quarterbacks can't be hit. While quarterback's a big deal, I can just tell you myself and the other recruiting analysts, Chad Simmons, John Garcia Jr., Andrew Ivins, Brian Doan, anybody that goes to these camps, we all go to see the linemen because they kill each other in these camps, and it's great footage, but in real games, they're playing against guys, for the most part, the high school level can't play with them. So we want to see good on good. We don't pay much attention to the quarterbacks. But last weekend, I worked with Coastline 7-on-7. Derrick was playing with Cam Newton's C1N team. And I happened to see him playing 2 games, waiting for Coastline like next on the same field. It was interesting to see him. I remember I didn't have to ask, that has to be Derrick. I kind of went, okay, that's him. His arms look like he's somebody that's 25 years old. That's him. It's still amazing that he's a guy that ended up changing like his body that quickly. But I noticed a couple of things about him that was really interesting. Cam knows his stuff and understands scheme. He used to look at his wristband and his plays to call stuff. Cam's got his own book memorized now. He didn't even have it. I was standing 10 feet from him. He was calling it, and Derrick was running it real quick. But he doesn't process super fast like most high school kids. And that's normal. Very, very few high school kids, especially underclassmen, do. I wanted to see how he reacted when something went well and then when something didn't. The most important thing I want to see is consistency. In my experience, The quarterbacks that are best from the high school to college level are the ones that are more even keeled. The guys that are super high strung, etc., ironically, like Cam, usually don't make it. Cam's the exception to about every rule, physically, obviously, but his personality style doesn't fit quarterback. He's an anomaly. Throw him out. Baker was pretty level. He had some throws and decisions. I'm like, yeah, that wasn't his best. And Cam would correct him. He knew how to adjust to him. And then the kid would make a different play. They'd run a similar play or the same one, and he would do better. But you could see the wheels turning when teams would change coverages or show him something he didn't see initially. He would hesitate. Typical, again, with a lot of players that are underclassmen. That's fine. But the most important thing that I saw from him is he didn't sulk. He didn't get crappy with Cam when Cam corrected him. Didn't matter if Cam came down on him hard. Suggested anywhere between. He was even keel. That gives the kid a chance. Again, he's got a long way to go on processing, but there's no way around that. It's just thousands of reps to play quarterback. It is hard. Cam would tell you that too if you stood there next to him. He knows the deal, and he knows you have to coach kids differently in today's world, and he's adjusted too. But here's the interesting part. With Cam being his quarterback and playing for C1N, I don't know how many of you listening to this or watching this understand how important that is, but that's one of a handful of teams that are a little bit different in terms of clout. Coastline, the team I'm with, is kind of reaching to that level, but SFE, who ended up winning the tournament, Low Pro, Cam's team, they honestly didn't have a great tournament. They got beat early on tournament day, but there are a handful of teams. When you're with one of those organizations, you're going to get more exposure. It's just the way it is. Fair or unfair has nothing to do with it. And it's kind of like the high school that Derrick is from. He's from Milton. You could not put him on a larger pedestal. Milton is on the north edge of Atlanta, state championship or bust every year for that program at the highest level. They're a national top 25 program. If you walk onto that school's campus, you'd swear to God you're at an Ivy League school in terms of like the buildings and everything's crisp. Like it's insane. And the football program is much the same. It's major P4 kids. Everybody magically ends up over there. I mean, if I could send my kid to that school, I would too. It's just a public school, but I mean, it's got money on money. And then he also plays with Cam. If Florida State gets Derrick to come to Tallahassee, all that extra exposure, being an Atlanta kid, of course, Florida State has always recruited Atlanta hard. If they can get him early, let's say March, he comes to another junior day, or he comes to the Florida State spring game. I don't know what Florida State's going to do this year. But if they can get him to come and commit early, it's always good to get your QB before the OBs, obviously. It would have a little extra cachet, not only for FSU, but for Norvell, especially with wide receivers, tight ends, and oh yes, guys like Jatori. Everybody knows who Derrick is. He plays with C1N. He plays at Milton. He's been on the scene for a long time. That's really important. There's not a lot to really complain about there. They just need to keep stacking quarterbacks, and whoever ends up winning the job wins the job. I wouldn't have a problem if they went out and took 2 quarterbacks this year. Jaden O'Neal, as much as I like him, he tore up his ACL. He's going to miss this season probably. That's okay, but like they don't have much going for them in terms of the underclassmen getting a chance to play. They need to stack classes of many good guys they could. Maybe they get another guy besides Derrick too. Who knows? I don't know if they want 1 or 2, but they have to look at it like not just the quarterback, but like the charisma of that player. What is his value just in terms of attracting other players? The best programs get guys early at quarterback that other guys want to play with. I'm going to be curious to see Derrick again. I'm sure I'll run into him in one of the other 7-on-7 tournaments, maybe Under Armour, Atlanta, whatever it is. I'm kind of curious to see what he has to say because it's a big deal for him to go and commit to Florida State if that's what happens. And right now, it's if you go read the comments, Knowles 24/7 or anywhere else, it's obvious that Florida State is in the lead for him. They've done a great job recruiting him. Let's see if they can reel in some other fish if they get Derrick in the fold because it's not every day you can get a quarterback from Milton, and he's also connected to Cam. It's just true. So with that, thank you very much for checking out Locked On Seminoles. It's just about time for me to be finally moved out of this almost empty apartment. I'll be down in Gulf Shores later this week and have a normal setup a little bit more often. But thank you very much for checking out. Please like and subscribe. We will see you again soon right here on Locked On Seminoles.